Hi, it's Dorothy Guiney with Scrapbooking Quebec, and today I'm joining the Punched Out Thursday to Die For collaboration, and we share ideas every Thursday on what to do with your punches and your dies. I'll put links to Ronnie's, Kathy's, and Krista's channels below, so be sure to check them out because they are super creative. And today I'm going to show you how to create an alphabet with circle punches. First, I'm going to do a layout process video. I'll create the title that you see on the screen, and at the end of this video, I'll do a short tutorial where I explain the entire alphabet. Here's what I'm going to be using. I have material from Dear Lizzie's She's Magic collection, and I did do a bit of preparation in advance. So I prepared that frame style foundation with 3 sheets of paper, and I gutted 2 of them, and I do that often. There is a tutorial on my channel where I create a frame foundation, so I will link that up below in case you're interested. I'm showing you the paper I have on my desk. I don't use it all, but I use most of it. I backed my photos in advance, and those are the stickers I want to use, but I do end up adding a bit more stuff later on as well. And for the technique, I have 2 circle punches and a pair of scissors, and those circle punches that can be whatever size you want. Now the first thing I'm going to do is continue with my foundation page. So I'm taking this rainbow paper and I'm just cutting along one of the rainbows, and my plan is to tuck it in the bottom left hand side of this page. I'm thinking at this point I'm going to nestle my photos, all 3 of them, in that rainbow, but I change that up later on. And my plan is to place the title along the outside of the rainbow. So what I'm doing right now is cutting out a bunch of circles. Now the blue ones are a little bit smaller. They are 1 3/8 of an inch, and the orange and yellow are a bit bigger. They're going to be like mats underneath my letters. Again, you can use whatever circle punch you want. The smaller they are, though, the more difficult this technique is, or the more agile you have to be with your hands. So I'm showing you a chart I made for this video, kind of like a cutting chart. This is an old technique, by the way, that I learned from Creative Memories a long time ago. Anyway, what I'm cutting out now are the letters. So I'm using the guide. My title is Downtown, so you can see the D and the O are super easy. I did a W there, so I cut 2 triangles from the top and 1 from the bottom, and I tried to line up the bottom triangle with the middle point of the top triangle. The N is a little more tricky here. If you look at the N, there are 2 triangles cut out, and one side of each of the triangles is longer than the other. So look at the chart when you do that and look for the 2 long ends, long sides of the triangle. The T was easy enough, and now the other 2 letters I'm repeating. Now one piece of advice I would have to say, if you want the letters to look the same within the title, for example, here I have 2 W's and 2 N's. Once I cut one of them out, I used that first letter as a guide to cut out the second one, because these letters are a bit wonky and they all kind of turn out different. So I stopped the camera, I continued adhering the letters to the back circle, the larger circle, and underneath each circle I added some white cardstock that's hidden underneath because I do plan to pop these up on foam adhesive, and that's what you see me doing right now. So I adhered that rainbow to the page, and now I'm adhering my title along the outside of this rainbow. So I stopped the camera and I continued, and now I'm finishing up. Now here's where my plan goes off the rails a bit, because my plan was to kind of nestle those 3 photos in the rainbow and then use those stickers that I had showed you at the beginning. They're part of this collection, but they're very pastel and very iridescent. And because the cardstock that I chose, as well as my frame style foundation, is more on the stronger side of the colors, it was like those stickers no longer matched. They were all pastel and the rest was all more stronger colors. So I went to a hip kit, which is where all of my material came from, by the way, and I looked for the other embellishments that were in the bag. And so you see that card there that says this week. It's part of like a Project Life kit, I think, and there's a small card in the top right corner as well. I found those colors more strong and more intense, so I incorporated those into my page. As you can see, I've added 2 tags coming out on the horizontal, and now I'm creating reinforcers for those tags. So for that, I used a hole punch and a 1/2-inch circle punch, and that gave me a little ring. So ultimately at the bottom, instead of having them all kind of crooked and nestled, which was my plan, I'm ending up creating more or less an L design at the bottom. My photos are more straight. I have that this week insert going on the vertical, and I have those 2 tags, which I made a long time ago, by the way, but I did use a punch. I used the detailed tag topper from Stampin' Up, which is just a punch that I have on my desk that I use frequently. It just so happened that I made them a while back and I'm using them on this page. Now I'm adding a bit of twine. So I'm happy that I have that blue cardstock on those tags for the reinforcers, because I do want to repeat the cardstock that I have in my title. And right now I'm coming in with those stickers. I really do want to use some of them, but they are very pale and I felt it just wasn't matching my page. So I pick out a few of the pieces, and that square block there says collect beautiful moments. So I'm going to tuck that in underneath that main photo and have them touch both of the photos. And those yellow flowers, I'm going to have one in the bottom left hand corner and one up at the right by that photo. Another thing, again, I was planning on putting all my photos in that rainbow, and I end up putting one in the top right hand corner, almost like an embellishment. Anyway, I'm taking those stickers that I selected and I'm backing them with a bit of cardstock because I do want to pop them up on foam adhesive, and I just like the look better when I back them in cardstock. They're just a little bit more solid. Otherwise, they will probably indent over time, and I don't like that look on my page. So I'm doing that. I do it with the flower that's in the top right as well. And then what you're going to see me do is look around. Honestly, I think this page probably would have turned out nicer if I just used the same cardstock that I used in the title and punched out a bunch of flowers and made a few embellishment clusters. But I did have this material that I paid for and I just wanted to use it. I'm showing you some Nuvo drops because sometimes when I've made these letters in the past, I've added either enamel dots, or in this case I'm thinking Nuvo drops, just a few here and there along the edges of the letters, but I didn't have the right color. In that hip kit, there were some stamps as well. I was looking around, wanting to add something, and in the end, the only thing I added were the middle circles in those 2 O's, and I like that in yellow. And in the middle of those 2 yellow flower stickers, you'll see it in a minute, I added a dark blue enamel dot, and that's it. But I was looking for more hits of that stronger color. There you see it in the middle of the flower. So that's it for this page. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to check out the other ladies. Their links are listed below. And if you hang on for a minute, I'm going to explain to you how to create this alphabet. Now this one here I probably made in 2007. Like I said, it's inspiration from creative memories. I did not invent this alphabet. And for today's video, I just made this. It's almost like a cutting guide. I'm going to recommend that you freeze the screen at one point and just draw this, because that's probably the easiest way to learn. And I'm going to go through the alphabet, and at the end what I'm going to do is do a few of the more difficult ones. Here I'm showing you the letter C. Now I have a point in there, but another easy way to do it is just simply to cut a line down the middle. That would make a C as well. Really, it's up to your imagination. That E I want to show you later on. There's a little bit of a trick to that one. The F, I'll talk about that one later as well. The other ones are pretty self-explanatory. I'm showing you the I there because in 2007 I made it different than I did here in 2020. The J there, I'm recommending that you make the point on the left go up a little bit more, have it a bit more at an angle. I will do the K for you, and I'll do the M for you as well. I already did the letter N, and I spoke about having one side of each triangle a bit longer, and I will do that later on as well. But most of these are pretty easy to do. The S is almost like the N sideways. It's the same thing. When you cut out the triangles, one side of each triangle has to be longer. And look at the chart when I say that, it'll make more sense. As you can see, the U, I left it rounded at the bottom, and the V, I made it into a point. And the Z is almost like the N, except I cut flat off the top and the bottom. So now I'm going to do a few letters for you just to explain this a little bit. So I'm going to do the E right now. And the most important thing about the E is that middle prong should be shorter. It shouldn't extend all the way out to the circle, otherwise it looks a bit weird. And the same thing for the F. I'm not going to do it here, but that prong that sticks out, make it a little bit shorter, otherwise it looks weird. Now what I'm doing is the letter K. What I'd like to say about this mostly is when you're creating these letters, I recommend you have yourself a circle, and then what you do is simply draw yourself the letter, do the letter inside the circle, and use the exterior of the circle as part of your letter, and then cut it out. And that's what I'm doing here with the K. So for the N here, I spoke about that earlier, but as you can see, the two lengths of the, how do I say this? The two triangles that I cut out, of each triangle, one side is longer. And that's what you got to get your head around when you do the N, the S, and the Z. Otherwise, they look a bit weird. So that's what I just recommend for that. But again, at the very end, I'll do a still photo of this chart, and you can just freeze the frame and simply copy it. As you can see, I'm doing the W here, which is very much like the M. What I'm doing is cutting out two triangles from the top, one from the bottom. And when I do those letters, I try to line up the point at the bottom triangle with the point on the top triangle. And now I'm doing the letter Z, which is very much like the letter N and S actually, except as you can see, I cut off flat the top and the bottom of the Z. You can't really see, I'm doing it on navy blue here right now, but you get the idea. I'm drawing it in pencil and then I'm cutting it out. So what I recommend for these letters really is take a circle, draw your letter on the inside of it, and then cut it. The biggest trick I would say is for N, S, and Z. Sometimes those can look pretty weird, so keep in mind that of the two triangles you cut, one of them has to be longer. There's a page I did in 2007. As you can see, I put little enamel dots or something on the letters that has kind of a fun look. Those ones there that I showed you from 2007 were a lot smaller as well, so they were a little bit more difficult to make. Again, it just depends on how great you are with scissors. I'm not very good with them. So there's the chart. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to Scrapbooking Quebec if you haven't already, and make sure you check out the other ladies. Their links are listed below. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.